Hey, Bella here with the next part of my story. As difficult as it was having to work alongside my cheating ex Ed, I felt like I was dealing with it, and it helped loads that I had Jim and John around to cheer me up. Only, Jim was about to go away on a month-long work trip, and the thought of being left behind without him to support me was kinda scary. So, the three of us went out for a goodbye dinner. Then, when he dropped me off, he came out with the bombshell that he loved me. What? This was crazy. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I mean, could I have misheard him? Staring at him in shock, I muttered out, What? Okay, so perhaps this wasn't the best way to respond, but I was in complete shock. He held my hand and said,
Bella, I've liked you since the first day I met you, but you were Ed's girlfriend, so I had to keep my distance. That's why I seemed cold towards you.
Jim, I tried to say something, but he cut me off.
Please, wait. I need to get this off my chest. Every time I took care of you, it wasn't because Ed asked me to. It's because I wanted to. I wanted to tell you everything when we overheard the conversation between Ed and Ellie, but I got cold feet. I was worried that you weren't over Ed yet, and that you still needed time to heal.
Oh, Jim, I didn't know, I said. He continued.
And, I was also afraid that you would reject me, and then you would feel awkward around me. But I don't think I could bear a whole month of keeping my feelings a secret. And, at least, this way, if you don't feel the same way, then I have a month overseas to get over you, right?
He joked. Talk about surprising. I did not see this coming at all. I always knew Jim was there for me when I needed him, and he always knew when something was bothering me. It's only now I realized he was protecting me not as a big brother, but as a man who had feelings for me. Thinking about it, I was so preoccupied with Ed that I didn't see that Jim's affections towards me were growing. It felt nice to know that an amazing man like Jim liked me, especially after the trauma my heart had received from Ed. But that was the main problem. I still wasn't fully over Ed. So I replied, I'm really flattered for what you've been doing for me all this time. I don't know how to thank you. But this is so sudden. I don't know what else to do. My heart is pounding so fast right now. I don't even know why He smiled at me and gently stroked my hair.
Silly. I'm not asking you to give me an answer right now. Just think about it. You have a whole month without me ahead. Maybe then you'll figure it out.
He winked, then walked off. I could only manage to yell after him, Safe flight, Jim! I'll wait for you. He simply replied,
Good night, Bella.
I watched him drive away, then I went inside and threw myself on the bed. I tried processing everything that had just happened. Talk about information overload. I couldn't deal with this right now, and forced myself to sleep. I had to get up early tomorrow and take the bus to my hometown, as it was my granny's 90th party and my entire family would be there. When I arrived at my parents' house, everybody was already there. My mom and dad, my uncles and aunts, my lovely granny, my cousins, basically everyone. It felt so good to see them all. It turns out, being around my kind, loving, and supportive family was just what I needed right now. Yep, it definitely felt good to be home. I noticed that my father didn't look so great. He'd lost a lot of weight and kept on coughing. I asked him if he'd gone to the doctor about it, but he said it was just a cold and nothing to worry about. Granny's birthday was lovely and sweet. We decorated the house with balloons, bought her a delicious cake, and there was even a huge poster of George Clooney, as he's my granny's favorite actor. After lots of cake, I wheeled Granny out onto the front porch, and we had a catch-up. She said to me, How's my little Bella? You look so skinny. You need to eat more. And when will you introduce me to that boyfriend of yours? You know, I'm not that young anymore. So hurry up. I know, I laughed. Granny continued. Didn't you want to bring him last year? What's his name again? Ed. I just smiled and said nothing. But the strange thing was, when Granny mentioned Ed, all I could think about was Jim. I guess this meant I kinda missed him. Granny noticed my sad face, so she asked what was bothering me. But I told her it was nothing. I was just tired because of the long ride. But then she said something to me that made me think. You know, sweetie, I've lived for a long time, and I've learned that there are only a few good people left out there. So when you find the right person, you've got to fight for them. It might not feel like the right time, but ask yourself this. When is? Don't let the past ruin your future. She smiled and kissed my hand. Oh gosh, Granny, that was so deep. Hearing her saying that made me seriously think about my feelings for Jim. He was truly a good man, but I was so obsessed with all the bad things Ed had done to me that I'd been oblivious to Jim's feelings towards me, and my feelings towards him. Oh my God. I was in love with Jim. I'm so stupid. Now I knew what I needed to do. Thanks, Granny. I love you to the moon and back. I kissed her on the forehead and pushed her back inside the house. I went upstairs to get my laptop and to send my resignation email, which I've been keeping in my drafts for these past few months, and I sent it to Ed. Yes, that's correct. I finally did it. I quit my job. I wanted to end the dramas in Starcross Estate and begin a new chapter in my life with Jim. Now, I could stay home with my family for a week or so, as I'd already quit my job, so it's not like they could fire me or anything. This would be my healing time. Then I took my phone out and sent Jim a message saying, when you're back in town, can we please meet up? We need to finish that conversation we had last time. I can't wait to see you again. Smiley face. Jim instantly replied back, me too. Smiley face. But then, something happened that turned my whole world upside down. My mom screamed out that something was wrong with Dad, so I rushed over to them and saw that he was on the floor, unconscious. We took him to the hospital, and they carried out loads of tests and x-rays on him. Then the doctor told us the results. My father has a disease called heart arrhythmia. An arrhythmia describes an irregular heartbeat. With this condition, a person's heart may beat too quickly, too slowly, too early, or with an irregular rhythm. In his case, his heart beat too slowly. It was a genetic disease that my grandpa had also had. My father needed surgery to implant a device, called a pacemaker, into his chest. This is a small device that uses electrical pulses to prompt the heart to beat at a regular minimum rate. You wouldn't believe how much it all cost, and his health insurance wouldn't cover it. So the main problem was money. We needed lots of it, and quickly. If my father didn't have this operation soon, he could have a stroke or heart failure. So, over the past days, we asked everybody we knew. Each friend and acquaintance lent us some money, but it still wasn't enough. It wasn't even a quarter of the amount we needed. We also tried to get a loan from the bank, but the procedure would take at least a month, which was too long. Time was running out, and it felt like there was nothing I could do to stop it. It was horrible. Ever since the day I sent my resignation email, Ed called a few times, but I really wasn't in the mood to answer his calls. I was so worried about my dad, and let's face it, Ed was the last person I wanted to deal with. But then some days later, I got a text from him saying that he'd tried calling me to find out why I'd quit, but I never picked up. So he called my cousin, and she'd told him about my father's condition. Then something crazy happened. Ed offered to pay all of my dad's medical bills. But there was a catch. He rang me up to explain what he wanted. And whoa, you won't believe what he was asking me to do.